Why relationships fail and how to avoid it. Even if you've recently encountered the ideal partner for yourself, mismanaging certain aspects of your relationship could be a significant factor in its potential failure. The encouraging news is that if she is genuinely someone worth keeping, the insights you are about to gain will assist you in preserving that connection and avoiding the pitfalls of losing a good partner. Additionally, if you find yourself in a relationship that is currently struggling, you will discover strategies to help mend it. The truth is, the reasons behind why your relationship might be on shaky ground could be quite unexpected. Welcome to Just the Tip. Now, while her personality may seem like a perfect match for you, a mismatch in temperaments could be one of the primary reasons your relationship is at risk. To clarify, personality refers to the essence of who you are, while temperament pertains to how you express that essence in the world around you. In simpler terms, temperament relates to your behaviors and reactions in various situations. For instance, describing her as a passionate woman highlights her personality, whereas saying she is easily provoked or quick to anger speaks to her temperament. Understanding the distinction between personality and temperament is less critical than recognizing how these differences can impact intimate relationships, particularly when your temperaments are significantly different. For example, both of you might agree that being financially responsible is important, but the way you each approach that responsibility in real life could vary greatly. Stay with me, I promise it will become clearer. According to Dr. Stephen Stosny, an expert in conflict management and anger in relationships, and the author of Empowered Love, temperament clashes typically begin to surface around 10 months after a couple starts living together. These issues can escalate to crisis levels by the second year. If a couple fails to learn how to manage their differing temperaments, they often part ways by the fourth year. Now, what if you are not cohabiting? In that case, it usually takes longer to uncover how your temperamental differences influence the relationship. This delay is often due to the initial phase of dating, known as the honeymoon stage, where a rush of feel-good endorphins creates a euphoric state, causing you to overlook significant differences that should be addressed. However, even if you are a great match, failing to navigate your temperamental differences could spell trouble for your relationship. On a positive note, while our personalities may evolve over time, our temperaments generally remain stable. This does not mean that you cannot work on certain temperamental traits within yourself or your partner that may not be beneficial. One of the challenges in intimate relationships, which could contribute to their potential failure, arises when you choose a partner whose temperament is vastly different or seemingly opposite to yours, particularly regarding conflict management. For example, when faced with stress, anger, or frustration, whether directed at your partner or stemming from external sources, you might tend to withdraw and reflect in solitude before discussing the issue later or moving on. In contrast, she may prefer to address the problem immediately and work through it together. In the heat of the moment, when emotions run high, it's common for one partner to feel overwhelmed and shut down, while the other may become more vocal. This can lead to a clash where one person is eager to resolve the issue immediately, insisting that they should never go to bed angry, while the other prefers to take a step back and discuss things after they've both had some time to cool off. It's a relatable scenario that many people have encountered in their relationships. If you can relate, feel free to share your experiences in the comments. The important thing to recognize is that neither partner is inherently wrong, they simply have different temperaments when it comes to handling conflict. This is a crucial point to understand, especially when you find yourself with someone who seems to approach tense situations in a completely opposite manner. In such cases, both partners may feel misunderstood or unloved, even though the reality is that love is present, but understanding may be lacking. When we are emotionally triggered, we often wish for our partners to react in the same way we do, as this similarity can create a sense of emotional safety. However, it's worth noting that feeling too comfortable and too alike can lead to monotony in a relationship. Yes, relationships can be intricate and require significant effort to maintain, and they aren't suitable for everyone. But if you believe they are right for you, let's delve into the idea of stimulation, though not in the way you might be thinking. Having differences, even in temperament, is not only acceptable but can actually be beneficial. A little variation can prevent the relationship from becoming stagnant. The key lies in how you navigate these differences, as this will determine whether you can support each other, especially during conflicts. If you struggle with this navigation, you might find yourself questioning whether you're truly with the right person, even if your core values, beliefs, and goals align. In fact, the way you both react to situations may feel overwhelmingly challenging, but often, these feelings are simply magnified. Drive S, as we'll refer to him for simplicity, points out that the most common areas where these conflicts arise are related to energy levels, intensity, and mood, particularly concerning anxiety regulation. For instance, consider a scenario where one partner has a high energy level while the other is more low-key. The high-energy partner may act impulsively, making decisions without much thought, while the more contemplative partner prefers to strategize before taking action. Imagine if the high-energy partner receives criticism from their boss. Their instinct might be to quit on the spot, even if they can't afford to be unemployed. In contrast, the more cautious partner would likely suggest discussing the issue with the boss first and only resigning once a new job is secured. Another example could involve punctuality. If one partner is always on time and the other is frequently late, the organized partner might feel disrespected when their attempts to address this behavior lead to the other becoming moody and withdrawn. This brings us to the topic of mood and anxiety regulation. If we revisit the earlier example of the high-energy partner disliking their job, the stress of working under a disrespectful boss may cause them more anxiety than the prospect of finding a new job, which can complicate the dynamics even further. Imagine being unemployed and feeling uncertain about when your next paycheck will arrive. This situation can create significant anxiety, especially if you thrive on stability. On the other hand, some individuals might embrace a more spontaneous approach to life, often referred to as flying by the seat of their pants. This brings us to an interesting question: do opposites truly attract? While there is some truth to this idea, it's important to note that being too different can create a chasm that is difficult to bridge, particularly when it comes to temperament. If the differences are too pronounced, it can lead to a situation where the partners eventually repel each other. If you're curious about why opposites attract, feel free to leave a comment, and I can create a video on that topic. As I mentioned earlier, the most successful relationships often involve couples who have moderate differences in temperament. For instance, a high-energy individual may pair well with someone who can help them relax without dragging them down, while a more laid-back person might benefit from a partner who can inject some energy into their life, encouraging them to step out of their comfort zone from time to time. Consider a scenario where you appreciate her spontaneity and creativity, while she values your ability to keep her grounded. However, the greater the disparity in your temperaments, the more challenging it can become to manage those differences. If you find that the very traits that initially attracted you to each other are now causing frustration, you're not alone. Many people have experienced this dynamic. If you have a story to share, I'd love to hear it. In cases where your temperaments are moderately different but you still find yourselves arguing over trivial matters, it might be a sign that you are reacting rather than responding to each other. It's crucial to remember that most of us were not taught how to navigate relationships or manage conflicts effectively. I'm not sure what the current curriculum in schools looks like, but it often lacks practical tools for these essential life skills. Apologies to any educators out there, but the reality is that when people feel triggered, they tend to react impulsively instead of taking a moment to respond thoughtfully. To illustrate this, let's say that as your anxiety levels rise, she becomes increasingly nonchalant. This could lead to exchanges like, "Why can't you just calm down for a moment?" or "Why do you always procrastinate?" You might even find yourself saying, "I thought you were interesting, not boring." These phrases are common in many relationships and can lead to misunderstandings. This brings us back to the distinction between personality and temperament, who you are versus what you do. Often, conflicts remain unresolved because we attack a person's character instead of addressing their behaviors. A key takeaway here is that it is generally easier to change a behavior than to alter a personality trait. When you focus on a negative personality trait, it can feel like a personal attack, whereas addressing a specific behavior allows you to express your needs within the relationship. Failing to communicate in a loving and respectful manner can lead to discord and emotional distance, as neither partner feels safe expressing their feelings. This often leads to the thought, "Why can't you be more like me?" The reality is that it's not necessarily your differences that create incompatibility, but rather your inability to communicate effectively and manage conflicts. When triggered, we may revert to childlike behaviors, becoming defensive or demanding, which can result in one partner feeling depressed while the other experiences anxiety and anger, ultimately leading to resentment on both sides. This cycle is why effective communication is so vital in maintaining a healthy relationship. One of the primary reasons your relationship may be headed for failure is due to differences in values, beliefs, and goals. Understanding what truly matters to each of you is crucial. If you're already facing difficulties and recognize that you might be contributing to the problem, perhaps due to intense or extreme insecurity, it's highly recommended to seek therapy. A link to a suggested company will be provided. If you believe your partner's issues are causing problems, consider talking to a marriage counselor or coach, and a link to a recommended professional will also be shared. Don't be too hard on yourself for not knowing how to navigate relationships until now. Take responsibility for learning and improving. By continuing to watch this, you demonstrate your commitment to growth and self-improvement. Thank you for being here, and may you find guidance and support on your journey.